BEEX project is a no-profit foundation about visual art and photography. If you want to help us, just drop a donation on buymeacoffee.com/Berlin. Welcome to 50 Minutes of Experience. Today I'm with Sean New, and welcome, Sean.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's really a pleasure for me to have you. And today we talk about your experience as a photographer, not only, but as a human. And it's really nice to have this podcast with you also because you have your own podcast, as I know, about a movie. And that's really interesting. And for sure, we will talk about also that. But what I want to do before to doing that, it's if you can just introduce yourself a bit, then the listener doesn't know you, can know better. Who are you?
Yeah, my name is Sean New. I grew up in California, but I've spent some time in London, in the East Coast. Most recently, before California, I was in Tokyo. I used to work in tech, and then I took a creative sabbatical, and that's when I started getting into photography. I bought my first film camera when I was living in Tokyo, and then during the pandemic, it was a great way for me to just express myself creatively while being obviously safe. And I fell in love with it. And I also, with my creative sabbatical, started exploring other mediums such as podcasting. And so I am also now producing a podcast for a nonprofit dedicated to equal treatment of Asian Americans and the constructive relationship for US and China.
That's so really cool. And now we go a bit more deeper in what you do and why you do that and when you started. So first of all, you are writing, you are recording podcasts, you're shooting photography, you are writing script, you're doing many stuff as me. Mm-hmm. And so the question could be many, but I will start to ask you, so when did you start and what was the first things you started with?
Yeah, it's a good question. I started writing first, and this was back when I was living in San Francisco around 2017. I was working there at Amazon, and I honestly had quite a bit of free time. I wasn't very happy with what I was, my life just in general, because even though I had a good job and I had a good social circle, and I was very grateful for that, I didn't feel really fulfilled. And so I was kind of pushing myself to express myself in a different fashion. And I started writing. Just wrote some couple of stories that I had poking around my head. But because of work, I never really dedicated a lot of time to doing that. When I moved to Tokyo, I was obviously distracted by kind of exploring Japan. But I also started painting as well, just again to express myself in a way that I felt was fulfilling. And then I was like, basically, I need to try to figure out if I want to do this full time. I wanted to take a break from Amazon anyways, and so when the pandemic hit, I was like, this is the right time to do it.
Yeah, for sure. When pandemic started, you was not like there to doing nothing. You was for sure creating something, And I think, especially when you write, when you're doing podcasts, when you are a researcher in a way, it's really difficult to having this moment saying, I don't know what I have to do. I mean, for me, it doesn't happen from several years. Probably never. I don't know. It's never happened to me to say I don't know what I have to do. I have always a kind of list, really, really long to things I have to complete, I have to do, and it's always like more like that than saying okay now what I do, But don't go over that. I want to ask you, this podcast you do it about Asian movie. Really interesting. I listened some, and
thank you.
Also, some years ago, like 2-3 years ago, I started to watch much more Asian movies. I mean, in general, I watch every kind of movie. I don't care if they come from Asia or they come from USA or where else.
Yeah.
If a movie is good, it's good. Stop. It's not about the country. But I discovered a YouTube channel. I don't remember his name, but it's kind of archive, Korean archive movie.
Oh, okay.
And I started to watch every movie from Korea of the 70, the 60, the 80,
Wow.
and
That's
so
cool.
on. And yeah, really cool movie. Some there was just in original language, no subtitle, no anything. So then yeah, I had more like I was watching more in the part of visual and then to understand. But yeah, I mean, when the images are strong, you can really understand everything. And I wanted to ask you if you did some short movie or movie as a director, or if you tried doing that.
Yeah, I recently participated in a film festival. It's called the 72-hour Asian Film Shootout. It basically, they give you a topic in Thursday, and then they ask you to make a film by Sunday. So it's like they really push you to, like I think it's quite freeing because they don't expect you to have high production and like very, highly edited movie. It's just like a way to create a story in a short period of time. And that was my first kind of experience where I wrote some of the script. I helped kind of produce it, get the actors, and I helped kind of be assistant director. My friend Han Huang, he's actually the main director, but it was really interesting to kind of participate in that. And I'd love to do more of that in the future. I have submitted some short scripts for some contests, and I'm waiting to hear back from them. So I think that is definitely something that I want to focus on in the future.
Yeah, I can imagine, because it's a really nice way to communicate for sure. I will never imagine me. I mean, I tried 2 times to write a script, and then after 10 page, probably I wanted to kill myself. But it's really difficult for me to write a script. I can write down a lot. I mean, I wrote 2 books, and
wow,
without this structure of the script, it's much more easier for me. And yeah, probably it's me. I don't know how to structure better in automatization a script, but yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I have seen your, and yeah, it's not something I can do it. And but the things you said about this, so they give to you this time, really short. This is something I tried years ago, 10 years ago, with a friend. We was doing a musical video, and we had really short deadline, like 2 days, and so we just did it, every scene, so recorded every scene. And in one, I remember we did 2 nights, really strong night without sleeping, so 48 hours without sleeping. And on After Effects and Premiere to mount the stuff. And in the end, yeah, we was really crazy to also delete the number of the car from behind. So we did in After Effects everything. But yeah, I think it's something is push also out totally your creativity, when you have this straight line and this straight deadline, or you don't do it nothing, or you put out the best you can. And anyway, to change the topic, I would love to know more about also your photography. And yeah, for sure, it's totally influenced from the movie in general, and probably also from what you write. But as you know, photography is something probably less related to creativity, but much more related to researching and watching and analyzing. So it's more related to the things that something happen in front of you, and you cannot be really creative when you have to just catch what you have in front of you. It's about the right moment. And then probably the most creative part is when you are doing the selection, when you are doing the post-production or the post-processing, and then probably you can put out the creativity in the storytelling. That's probably the part of the creativity. So I wanted to just know easily, how do you get in touch usually to going out shooting pictures? So you are just for example, like this is the day I'm free and then I go shoot out the picture, or you have always the camera with you, and what else is the moment? Always, bam, you have the moment with you.
Yeah, I think, I think about a lot of that. Right now, I am shooting with a Yashica T4, which is very much a street photography, very spontaneous, and it's more aligned with what you're saying, where you kind of react to the moment, and you kind of, you see something on the street that is really nice. Like I was recently in Chicago, and I was walking downtown, and I saw a light beam between two skyscrapers that was illuminating a certain part of the pavement. And when people would walk through it, I was like, oh, okay, take a picture of that. So it's very like spontaneous. And it was my friend's wedding. So there was a lot of like action shots of the dancing and all that. And that was great. I also shoot with a Mamiya RZ67. And that is, a lot more of a methodical tool where it's very large, it's very heavy. I need to measure the light first. I need to frame the shot. It's a little bit more delicate to frame that shot. There's no autofocus, so that is much more about preparation beforehand, right? Like that is much more about, I need to have a vision about what I want to shoot first before I and I need to prepare more. So I think there's creativity. Yeah, there's creativity in like the intention of going out to a place or inviting someone who you want to take a portrait of and setting up that frame. That all has creative intention to it. And then there's of course the framing of the shot itself, choosing the film, the exposure, all that stuff is there's the creative say in that, or like you want to use multiple exposure, etc. And then yeah, the post production and framing, and editing it the way you want to look, and also, and I guess one thing I'm trying to do more of is like have more. You're right. I have been influenced a lot by film, so a lot of my work so far has been trying to invoke a sense of nostalgia or a sense of surrealism in my photography. But I'd like to try to tell more of a message or a story through a sequence of shots. That's what I'm trying to be more intentional about, and that means less street photography, I think, and more intention, like more set photography, more stuff that I've anticipated before. So that's kind of where my mind is at right now.
So yeah, it's I mean, I like a lot the look of your picture. That's sure.
Thank you.
That's also one of the reasons we are here. Yeah, but I was interested because I discovered you from the podcast and not really from the picture. And then I found out that you was doing also picture, and it was much more nice than to also add this part inside of the podcast. And I can imagine that I never used Mamiya.
Yeah.
I have one. It's much more older. Is I don't remember now the model. Is a one Russian one. It's really old one, but it's quite similar. So it's this kind of camera, really big format, and it's really complicated to keep the real focus because you cannot see the focus for real, and everything is manual, totally manual. And so yeah, this is something nice because watching your pictures, yeah, they are made really good, so there are not mistakes that are usually you can do it with this kind of cameras. And I'm asking to myself, have you something like some experience you would like to do it with photography? Also in mixing photography, writing, podcast together, would you like to doing some experience in the future that you
Yeah.
are actually not you're not doing, and which are these experience?
Yeah, I think it definitely writing and photography, that combination leads to maybe to directing, right? So I'm really trying to focus on or find opportunities to direct and shoot portraits and portraits that are, unique ones that really tell a lot about the person, or sometimes even use the person as just part of the setting to communicate a certain feeling. I do find that I need more experience. I need more improvement in directing people and making my model comfortable and telling them how to act. So that is something that I'm really trying to focus on with my photography and writing in the future.
So yeah, I will look forward to see more about of what you will develop, because I'm really curious. I think yeah, that photography fit with you, but it's fit much more in a way like to seeing something filmed. I think I have this feeling that probably with video will be much better.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I obviously we have like so many, we have a video camera in our phones all the time now, and like I'm not on TikTok. I don't really use Instagram stories that much. I'm not or Reels. I've tried Reels a couple of times, and it's been interesting. I learned a little bit of Premiere for myself, but like I guess I feel like I still have so much more to do with photography and writing that I don't feel as like I don't know, either it's confident or just I don't feel like I'm drawn to just make video content quickly.
Yeah, it's not
Uh,
the same things. It's totally
yeah,
different tools. I mean, they use the visual, both of them, but one you catch the moment and that's it, and another it's if you need totally another preparation to catch the moment to have the total condition you want in the film. I mean, it's
yeah,
totally different. Making video and picture are two different words in a way. Also, if video come from photography in a way, because yeah,
yeah,
the process of the film. But yeah, video requires the music in a way. Video requires the cut of the scene, so this jumping from a scene to another. Also, if it's long, if it's silent,
yeah.
require a certain. Yeah, you cannot doing a video with shaking. You can also do it, but no one will watch then because after 10 minutes, everyone has a headache.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
there's a lot of things I feel like I still want to master with photography. Not that I'll ever master potentially, but there's a lot I still want to improve upon. I was also thinking, in my script, the one I'm working on the most right now, which is about 95 pages, like one main character, the whole plot device is about photography. Like he uses photography as a way to deal with his family loss of his family, and as a way to he finds something that motivates him to try to search for some answers about his past. So that's, I guess, another way I've incorporated photography into my writing. Just
yeah, yeah.
that's
Sure,
yeah,
sure. The photography, it's for sure, it's a tool. The camera is a tool to connect ourselves with the true is around us, with our point of view. So that's mean our realities, but especially is, and I'm pretty sure about that. That is most of all is a tool we need to connect to research ourselves inside of the world. So then it's probably for me, and I mean, for my research, is much more a tool to catch what we have inside than what we have outside. Even if
mm.
we want to show the aesthetics of something, we are talking about ourselves.
I love
99% of
that.
the time,
Yeah.
it's catching ourselves, and you can see. I mean, the many works in general. I mean, photography it's in the hand of everyone. We cannot talk anymore about it's not an art.
Mm.
And even if we want to say it's an art, what is art? It's come from an Italian word. I'm Italian, and yeah, it's artigianato. It's made handmade, and
Mm.
it's a word coniated for the people who was working the wood or working on the sculpture, so then the marm and so on, and was used to give. So when you use a product of art, it means a product made with your hand. So then we cannot talk anymore about art. In this case, we wanna give an attribution of art. Yeah, we can give. I mean, we'll give a fuck about that. But so then we have to consider that art is everything. And so then I would say much more is a, and I say with 99% of sure about that, because it's a tools that was developed for the research. I mean, in the moment the camera was developed was from the camera obscura of Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah.
Probably before also. But the moment it was produced as a tool was the moment exactly they needed the tool to research. And if you go to see the exactly years was invented the first camera was the exactly years was sociology came out as a science.
Oh, wow.
And they needed a tool to prove that was a science, the sociology, because they had to show the society, and they couldn't anymore use the drawing for that because was not touching the truth. So and this for to say that yeah, can be an art for sure, but can, for me, photography is much more than an art. It's a way to research, and most of the time we research with our unconscious.
Well, very well said. You've blown my mind. You know, you want me to think about, I have to go back and think about all my photography now in a different lens.
I mean,
But
yeah, it's what I do. I'm a creator, so then I review most of the time portfolio and pictures, and I watch through the picture. I search the unconscious of the people. I search the real meaning why. I mean, if the question are always two for me, it's why you do it photography, and even if you tell me why, I ask you what you want to say with that.
I'm curious then, like, what do you want? What do you want from me that's to see me do more of in photography?
I mean,
I love to know your advice.
it's what I want you from you. What I want from you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't,
Well,
I don't know. I'm just curious. I mean, in this case, I'm only curious. But if I was doing a portfolio review, I mean, I will ask you why you don't show your private life. I mean, why not that? I mean, it's, yeah, for sure you show your private life because, you know, way or another, you research your private life outside. You do it. You want to show that Asian movies because come from your culture for sure and from your origin. But yeah, I think as I read good because I read your biography some week ago that you born in America, no?
yeah.
And so then you are also American, and that's another good things to say that. And I asked myself why to show why to empower only the Asian part and not both, and why not the world part? I mean, because in the end, you are part of a connection between two different continents.
Yeah.
They are really full of culture and sense and subculture, and you are the one in the middle that appertain to a really strong subculture. And I said in a podcast some week ago, there is a beautiful thesis you can read of a philosopher named Francois Julien. That the name of this book is "The Cultural Identity is a Bullshit."
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And I would really suggest you to read this book because he say, I mean, I keep to short to the part was really interesting for me. He said doesn't exist to be, but exists to between. So what is between? one element and another.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you can search also on my website, my personal website, emilianovittoriosi.info. I wrote a thesis about the representation of the true, that you can find all of these steps that I went to analyze, where I recognize that, we talk about many times about true and the reality, but the true is something we cannot touch, and the reality is something appertaining base of our influences. And without influences, we cannot be alive, because we couldn't. I mean, we can burn, and imagine a baby born alone die after 10 minutes, probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are many
That's a
things.
lot. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting. I think I would just elaborate that. I kind of understand. If I understand your point, well, first of all, my focus is on Asian Americans, which is of course that subculture, right? Like being Asian, I don't have an experience about being Asian and living in Asia and growing up in Asia. I don't have that life experience. I have the experience of being an American who is Asian, ethnically Asian, ethnically Taiwanese, Chinese, actually specifically. And growing up, I just felt like there's a vacuum of content, of support, of community. And, I wanted to dedicate my time and my skills to help foster that. And actually, I'm really quite pleased that when I started doing that, I realized, wow, there's a lot of people doing this, a lot of people the same idea, and there's actually more people listening to us now. And so that feels quite good. But I can't, I mean, I think that from a more macro perspective of the validity of subcultures and racial identity, that's a bigger question that I haven't really answered for myself. I just think about, honoring like the life experiences that my family has had, honoring like providing the safe space that I would have wanted as a child, or the recognition and art that I would have wanted to see when I was growing up, and trying to do a little bit to help that. And so, also specifically with the US and Chinese Americans in China, right? There's been a lot of conflict recently because US and China has, obviously there's a
too powerful.
It's a difficult relationship. So I'm actually producing a podcast to try to talk more about and address like cultural issues and humanize that connection more, instead of thinking about it from a political, economic perspective, and more of a, what do people think about? How do they consume music? How do they consume photography or art? Or how do they deal with modern love and mental health through this conversation, which is called Bund to Brooklyn. If you guys, if you guys are interested in that, check that out. But that's what I'm thinking about, what I'm working on now.
For sure, I will do it. For sure, I will do it. So thank you a lot for this time we had together. Yeah, if you want, we can also have another podcast in the future. I mean, when you want. And every link of Sean will be in description. And if you want to check him work, I think it's really interesting, and especially, I mean, photography is really nice. You can follow him on Instagram, but yeah, I think you have to read the writing and to listen to the podcast, because I think there is much more to discover about him. And thank you a lot for your time.
Emiliano, this is great. Really appreciate the conversation. Would love to come back on and talk more. You're a fascinating mind, and look forward to looking forward to our future conversations.
Yeah, sure. You're totally welcome for that. Thanks for listening to our podcast. Learn more about our project at allmylinks.com/BerlinExplorer, or visit our Instagram and follow Berlin Explorer Project.